Hello everyone. So me again, just moving forward with our research techniques in preparation for our essay. So we're back into GAC 008, Unit 2, and just down on page 81, so the last page of Unit 2. So this is just a brief one that I wanted to talk to you about, finishing off that document that you were working on the other day. I don't know which day this is now. As I said, you're in the future. I'm recording this in the past. So criteria for evaluating digital resource reference materials. One of the big things that you're going to be marked on for your essays is actually, oh, I forgot. Oh, hello, my video is on. How embarrassing. So one of the things that you're going to be marked on is your references. So I'm going to go through each of your references, click on them, make sure that it is a reliable source, and then you can get a mark out of 5 for that particular area. So it's a really quick and easy way to boost your overall mark is if you get the right references. But it's also making sure that you've got the right information to have an excellent essay. So here we go. I would like you to, when you're doing your research, you're not going to start your research planner this week, probably I'll introduce that to you next week, but I want you to have this document with you when you're actually completing your research. After maybe 2 years, this will become second nature to you, so you won't have to sort of do this all of the time. And when you're developing the skill of researching, it does take a little while. It can be a bit tedious, but you'll get better and you'll get a lot faster. So it's good to get you started now. It will make life at university a lot easier, I promise you. So is the author reputable, an expert in the field? Is the resource published by a reputable organisation? How many people link to the source? How current are any responses to the website? I think they're talking about comments at the, I wouldn't worry about that. I think that's a bit old. Are the sources of information stated so the information can be verified? So I'm going to explain that in a little bit more detail in just a moment. Is the author or organisation biased? Or are all sides of the argument presented? Now, I actually think it's really interesting and useful in essays to look at both biased perspectives as well as someone sort of in the middle, because it gives you a full, well-rounded, and you can actually make your decision. So if they are biased, that's fine, but you just need to keep that in mind and make sure that you're getting an equal perspective from both points of view. Is the URL a personal web page or part of an organisation's official site? So if it's www.fionaisthebestteacher.com, it's probably not going to be a reputable site. If it's www.fionaisthebestteacher.org, it probably is actually going to be a reputable site. Okay. What's the purpose of the website? So if it's a university or organisation, you know the purpose is actually research and it's going to be reputable. If it's, global warming is a hoax, as we discussed in the last class, then you know that the purpose of it is to influence people. So again, it doesn't mean that you should discount that material, but you need to be aware of what the reason and what the purpose is. Is the information available in other formats? Is the information fact or opinion? We talked about that in our classes in the last couple of weeks. What is fact or opinion and how people express that? And does the website include contact details for the author or webmaster? We don't call them webmasters anymore. As I said, this is 2016. I think it probably was written around 2011 or 2012. Was the website recently updated? Basically with Google, they will give you the up-to-date sites, so you don't really need to worry about that. And is the language factual rather than emotional? And using emotional language, it goes back up to your fact and opinion as well, doesn't it? Okay, so I just wanted to talk to you about the sources information can be verified. So if they're using statistics or in-text referencing and using referencing at the end, you know that that information has actually been verified, and you can go through yourself and go back to the original information so that you can double check that that information is correct. And that's what I do with your essays. If I feel, for instance, I've had a 12A student recently that I felt that some of the writing was not their writing, and so I put copied and pasted some into Google, and then I could see that they've actually copied someone else's work, which is plagiarism, and has caused lots of big problems. So don't do that. I will be verifying your work in the same way that you're going to be verifying when you're completing your research. Now, oh. Share. Okay, so I agree that Wikipedia is not something that you can use as a reference. You cannot reference Wikipedia. It's just not a reference because anyone can write whatever they want. So if I wanted to put in, write an article about hedgehogs, for instance, there's no one that stops me from displaying that. Generally, they're quite good. And I'll tell you why I think it's useful at the beginning stages of your research, but not as a reference, but at the beginning stages of your research. So Wikipedia will generally give you a great generalized overview of whatever topic that you're looking at. So I've looked up vampires, for instance, because I love them, and it gives me a nice bit of an overview. It uses disambiguation. And then I've got all of this, see the contents that we've got here, lots of different information. So if I'm doing my essay in specifically about vampires in, I don't know why this happened, specifically in film and television, I might click on that. And then I've got this wonderful piece of information in front of me. Sorry, something strange happening. Okay. Now you'll notice that in here, they've got a lot of other links. So that links you into different websites, but that's not what I want to show you. I want you to have a look down here. So we've got all of these notes, that's fine. The references. Okay, so this is really useful. So if you're going to be doing your essay on hypoxia, for instance, you can go into Wikipedia, jump into hypoxia, and then pop down to the reference area, and there are all of these relevant references that you can actually click on, go to, have a read of those books. I just think this is really, really useful as a foundation to get a bit of an overview of what you're actually going to be doing your research on. Okay, so Wikipedia, good for a nice overview and good for identifying some appropriate references that can lead you on to throughout your research process. Good. So the next stage that I want you to do in planning your essay, so I'll show you what I've done for mine. So hopefully you guys have worked really hard on this. As I said, you're going to send this through to me and I'll be able to give you some particular feedback on that. But now we're going to how should I structure my essay? So before research, and this is actually going to change, but again, it's so that you're thinking about it. If you start researching without thinking about your essay and where you want it to go, what you want it to be about, it's going to go off topic and it's just not going to be a very good essay. And again, I'm having problems with 12A because I've not taken this seriously. So I'm hoping my wonderful 11A will do the right thing. So the first thing that we do, I'm putting my hand over it, you can't see that. The first thing that I want to do is we brainstorm the item, okay? So brainstorm what you want to write about in the item section with brief details. So the first thing, brainstorm. So if you're talking about hypoxia, you might talk about global warming, we want to talk about history, you might want to talk about the scientific ramifications of hypoxia, etc., etc. So we're going to brainstorm. Let's have a look at what I did for my question, which was about women. So context history, I want to talk about that. So how women are viewed in ancient times, so Rome, Mesopotamia, ancient China, indigenous cultures. Then I've looked at perception of women. So I want to look at how people have viewed women throughout history or even now. So we're less physically strong, bad at math, too emotional, can't be in politics, etc. Then I want to talk about how we define male, because I don't want this test to be a female, 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 female essay. Like I said, it's important that we're looking at both perspectives. So how do I define a male, female, anatomy, hormones, behaviors, physical appearance, what they're interested in, color preferences, all of that sort of stuff. I definitely want to talk about women being paid equally. Women have and men have an equal amount to offer to society. Both live in the world and have the right to make decisions. So I want to get that in there as well. If women are equal, they will stop procreating and raising children. So some people argue that if women get treated the same as men, that will stop having babies and there will be no world. But some people like having babies. I don't want to have the babies, but you know, some people like the babies. So I'm going to discuss the opposing view to my own, so the opposing view. And again, it's to make my essay more balanced, because you do definitely need to look at it from both perspectives. The difference between an essay and an article is an essay should be objective and unbiased, okay? It's not about what you think about it, whereas an article is when you're trying to influence someone and bring them across to your point of view, okay? So with your essays, again, it's not about you trying to convince your author of something, but using your research and information to come to an academic conclusion. And finally, history, his story. Anyone noticed that before? It's not her story or their story, it's history. We need to work out how to make it our story. Women removed from history and pushed into nothing, ignored and forgotten. Time to make a change. So I've gone, oh, okay, these are all the things that I want in my essay. And again, this will change as I'm doing my research. The next thing, I need to work out the sequence. So what I want to look at first, second, third, so how I structured my essay. So the first one, I think that the history and equal, so that would probably go into my introduction. Then I think we'll talk about definitions. So my first body, so body 1 would look at definitions. Then some context, I think that would be good for body 3, so the next part. Then perception of women, followed by equal amount to offer society, followed by the opposing point of view. And then finally, the fact that we should all be treated equally and live in a lovely egalitarian society, okay? So that's what I've done with mine. And you're going to do and you will do the same with yours. So coming down here, have a think about all of the things that you'd like to put into your essay, all the things that are important to your particular topic. And again, don't do it in any particular order. First, I just want you to complete this bit and just brainstorm all of your ideas. Once you brainstorm them, then you can have a think about which should come first and second, and so on and so forth. Okay, nice and easy? Good. And then down here, use your research helper document to conduct your research. So as I said, we would go into that in further detail. Will I? Hang on. No, we can actually have a look at the research document, the research helper right now. So as you're going through, you need to have a think about, have you actually looked at everything in the right way? Have you looked at primary sources? So remember, primary sources is it's a first person point of view. Have you looked at secondary sources? Have you looked at objective perspective? And have you looked subjective? So pro and con. Used website articles, journal articles, database information. If possible, have you tried to find book-based information? Have you analysed all of the articles? So each article, have you actually spent some time to analyse it? Are they relevant, appropriate, biased, evidence-based? And have you documented any data, statistics, charts, and research? So when you're talking about, women being paid disproportionately to men, you might want to give, 70% of women get paid 30% less than men doing the same job. Okay, so using those statistics means that my essay is stronger, is more relevant, because I've given those particular statistics. Okay, bear with me just a moment. I'm going to try and find the research helper for you. Okay, so So I'm going to get this through to you as well, so we can actually start doing your research. So first of all, make sure that you've completed that planning document, and I want to receive that. Once I give you the okay, you can actually start on this, but I'll explain what the document is and how to use it first, so that you can start working on that as soon as I've given you the go ahead. But wait until I say yes, go. Okay, so don't start this. I'm just going to explain how to use it. But first of all, we need to make sure that we've got our planning and we've actually thought through and brainstormed about our essays, number one. Okay, so research helper, nice and easy. Author, website. So just actually copy and paste the URL. The website should not be www.baidu.com, whatever. That's not a relevant source, okay? So it needs to be World Health Organization.org, United Nations, the University of Western Australia, my university, for instance, okay? The name of the article, the date of publication, so the date that it was published, and the date that you saw it, so the date that you looked at it. So if it's today, I'm recording this on the 6th of April, so this would be 04/06/2020, okay? So nice and easy. Now, when you're looking at the dot points, do not copy and paste. No copy paste, no copy, no copy paste, no copy paste. If you're looking at Chinese articles, you're not doing it right. So if I see anything that I know is being translated, also death. Bad things will happen to you, I promise. So what you're going to be doing here is just finding the main information. So if you want to print it out and use a highlighter, or if you're reading it and you can use one of those magical pens and write on your screen like wonderful modern humans that you are, that's fine. But the information that goes into here is just dot points. So women paid less than male. So I'm using my note-taking skills that we've all worked on very hard. So you can see I've written 70% of women paid less than male. So it's not a full sentence. I haven't copied and pasted. I've just gone, okay, that's information, that's relevant, and that's going to be in my, or maybe in my essay. Pregnancy in the 1950s equals lose jobs. So in the 1950s, if a woman became pregnant, they'd usually get fired. And that was the way that it was. I don't know if it's like that in China still, or anyway. So you can see I've just used my lovely note-taking skills. This can be handwritten, or you can write it on the computer, up to you. Hopefully your teacher has printed out a copy for you, but I've also sent this through on WeChat so that you can make use of it. Now, the essay says that you should have 7. I'm recommending that you have 10 references, so 10 references, and that you obtain information from each of those references, okay? It doesn't mean that you're going to just make a reference sheet and copy and paste some references in there and have never looked at it. I'm not silly, I have done that myself. It's not very good. Again, we're learning a skill and developing a skill, so we need to do things the right way. So, in terms of homework, again, don't start on this first. What I want from you is all of this completed and all of this completed. I will review it. I'll go back to you and make some suggestions. You can change it, come back. We're going to do sort of back and forth for a little while. And then once I say, good, I'm happy with it, proceed, then you can move on and start your research helper. But we need to get this part, this little bit done to start off with. As usual, WeChat, if you've got any questions, please let me know. Always available most of the time, not 1 o'clock in the morning though. I don't know what you guys are doing at 1 o'clock, you should be asleep. But thank you very much for watching, and now get back to work. All right, thank you guys.